Okay.
Okay, now I'm going to show you how to do an image transfer. First of all, you must find a machine that works, and there are not that many that have the right kind of toner. So if you find one in a Xerox store, you should definitely make a note of it, because they're very rare and far between, the ones that have the correct kind of toner. So this actually does. I did this in a local shop. So I'm going to take this little crab and I'm going to place it upside down on a piece of paper, and then I'm going to make a hinge at the top with tape so I can lift it up and see if it's working. Now it's in place, and I have poured a little bit of this Citrusol that you find in health food stores. It's actually a cleaner, but it works for some unknown reason. You should really do this with the door open, because there's a few fumes, but we're just going to do it for a minute. So you pour a little bit in some kind of container, and you take a small brush, you dip it in, and squeeze out a lot of it, and then you paint it on a section, just a little. You only do this a little bit at a time. Put your brush down and take something like this wooden spoon, and you just start burnishing it. And it needs a certain amount of pressure in order for the toner to transfer onto your paper. And you can always go back and do it some more if you put your hinges on, so you register. Oops. It takes a little while to learn how to do this, but it's worth the effort. Okay, so I'm just going to stop there. I'm going to turn this around. I'm going to lift this up, and you can see.
How thrilling.
Yeah,
it's really thrilling.
It is pretty thrilling.
It is.
So that's what you can do, and then you can let this dry, and then you can add color to it. Watercolor, acrylic. I use a lot of color pencils in this technique, and so that's how you do it.
So do you have other works that have used watercolor or have used acrylic paints? Have you used other materials other than colored pencils?
Yes, I have.
Okay.
They're over there on the wall.
Okay.
Let's see, which ones are they? Sometimes I use graphite. And this one is a one that I transferred, and I used graphite in here because there was a lot of grays. So that's a combination, and there's a little bit of acrylic in here too. This one is pretty much all colored pencil plus a little bit of graphite, again because graphite gives you a good rich gray. And this one up here, this is a straight photograph of a stoplight in Reykjavik, Iceland. And then this one up here is again colored pencil and some graphite as well, actually.
Curtis, may I ask you, when you say this is a straight photograph,
Yeah.
is that just a photograph, or is that a transfer of a photograph that you have manipulated the surface with?
No, it's a digital inkjet print.
Okay,
It's
so
a straight photograph. I have done nothing to this.
to the surface. Okay.
Nothing to the surface.
And it
no.
isn't a transfer.
But this was a stoplighted, and it started to rain, and then a few minutes later it was really raining. This again is a stoplight, but it becomes exceedingly abstract, and that's what interests me. So I transferred this image in black and white from a Xerox in the same method I just used, and then I spent I don't know how many countless hours laying in the color with colored pencil, working from the photograph back and forth.
So when you go and you varnish a surface,
Mm-hmm.
and you varnish the surfaces that you've worked on with handwork, have
Right.
you varnished the straight inkjet print
Yes,
as well?
I do that
So that
as
has
well.
that has varnish on it as
Yeah,
well.
yeah, UV varnish.
Good.
Yeah,
Good
just to keep it color fast as possible.
And you're standing right in front of a really beautiful large piece.
Yeah, this is another piece that I did a whole series of these, and these are on wooden panels, which I have made specifically. There's a person who in Southern California who will make me exactly the right dimensions that I want, and he brings them up in his truck, and then I do all sorts of things with them. Now, these are photographs I took in Cambodia. What attracted me to this was these lights in the tree, but I took this one first, and the car was moving, the camera was moving, so it streaked. And then this car here was coming toward us, and in this image, this is the same car just a few seconds later. So I like this as an image in black and white, and it's a digital inkjet print. And then I use this one with acrylic. This only has acrylic in it. And then I added this strip of water using also acrylic. Now, the big technical thing about these big huge works on panel is that you have to be able to put them onto the wooden surface. This is a technique that is very fraught, not easy to do. First of all, I take the wooden panel, I seal it with a couple of coats of wood seal. What, I can't remember offhand what exactly I seal it with, but it acts as a barrier. Then I take Biva gel.
Excuse me,
Yeah.
so are you using like a clear coat of sealant, just as you
Yes.
would for
Yeah, right.
a decking or anything
Right.
else?
Yes. Yeah. And to seal the wood so that
Yeah, but it's clear. What you're using is clear.
It's clear.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's this. I order from a conservator's store in New Jersey a 48-inch roll of Biva film, and it's used by conservators, so it's archival, and it's like a big huge piece of double stick tape. So you peel off one side of it, you iron it directly onto the surface of the wood, you peel off the second layer, and then you put your artwork on it, and then you iron it in place. You start in the middle and you iron it, and then you work out from the center until you come to the edge. And I have these printed about 2 inches or about an inch larger, so I'm trimming it later, so I'm not, having to think I'm not going to get the whole image in. So then I do that, and then I let that rest overnight. And then the difficult part, the really hard part, is when I put a wet surface in order to seal it and put the UV varnish on it. I'm putting wet onto dry, and guess what these things do? They bubble.
Oh, of course.
They bubble.
Yeah.
I have a heart attack, a mini heart attack, and then I say, it's okay, just come back and iron it flat again. And it happens every time. I can get it to be flat. But when I see my precious artwork all rippled like this on the surface, I really,
So this film
Sorry.
that you're using, that's the adhesive to bond the images to your your support.
right.
It's pretty much akin to the old dry mounting of photographs that we used to do.
Probably similar. quite
with
similar,
the,
yeah.
where heat is an important element in
Yeah.
activating the adhesive.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So it's not like, I mean, I saw you've got like your 3M super adhesive spray on. So it's not
Yeah.
like that where you're
No.
putting something wet onto it to begin with and you're
Yeah.
putting it down.
No.
Okay. So
No,
it's
it's a film.
it's a film and it's activated by the heat. with
Right.
The ironing.
It's like double stick tape. It just comes in 48-inch rolls.
Yeah. Okay. And the piece just to the side next to you on the other side?
Oh, right, this is
So-
another piece that, this is an image that, I've used many times in my work. It's actually raindrops falling on a pond and creating these concentric interlocking, sometimes circles. The way I did this piece was I got a very thick piece of paper, archival paper, so it would have some real body to it. Then I made a Xerox on acetate of this image. I got out my trusty overhead projector. Remember those?
Yes.
And I put this on the wall, this piece of paper, you know, as a square piece of paper on the wall, and I projected the image onto the surface of the paper. And then, like a maniac, I drew in the whole thing. I mean, when I think about and the thing that was so difficult was that after a certain period of time, the image started to move. It was probably because the acetate got heated up.
Yeah.
And it started to move, and then it would drive me really crazy. So I would turn off the projector, let it cool down, and then turn it back on and continue. I mean, to draw this thing in took me weeks.
Okay, so you have both graphite and colored pencil on this.
Yeah, it's mostly graphite.
And I'm looking at these threads that you have adhering it to a metal
Right, a circular. Right, I fabricated this metal piece of steel, and I used linen thread here to bind it onto the support, because otherwise there's no way to hang it and it'll just collapse. Or I just wanted to have
Yes, let's see the back structure, see how it's hanging. Can I assist here? If I
let's
just
see.
like hold some weight?
Oh, here it is. There.
Okay, so how, oh, so it's wired in the back.
So it's wired in the back.
It's wired in the back and it's wired from these threads that are reinforced with a glue
Yeah,
as well.
right, yes. It's best to reinforce anything that's linen or anything that's not metal.
Okay,
So that's how, and then I had a way to hang it.
here, let me,
Yeah, I got it.
wait right here. There. So one question came up as I'm looking at these that are mounted on, you have paint here?
Yeah.
What paint do you have on this surface here? Let me, pull the camera around. Ah, okay.
These little supports are made from what's it called? Tube. It's used to porous concrete. What are they called? They're industrial,
Yeah.
and they're usually like 8-10 feet tall.
Mm-hmm.
And this is just a slice of it.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time they're a little thicker in the wall.
Mm-hmm.
If they're bigger, if they're wide, you know, I have a number of them. Oh, here's one right here.
Okay.
So they're
Oh, so you have you have your skin, your plywood
Yeah.
here,
Right.
and you've adhered it and glued it onto this diameter.
Yeah, right. And then I paint that with acrylic, a number of coats to seal it. First I seal it and then I paint it.
And is this sealed with the same sealant you've used?
Yes, because it's wood.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I wish I could remember what that was called. So I have a few more to make. And then in order to hang them, I put a block of wood in the back
And how
and a couple of eye screws and a wire.
and how is this wooden block attached?
With acrylic, with archival glue,
Okay.
because this is wood, this is actually wood. No, actually, because it's wood on wood, it's a wood glue.
Wood glue.
Yeah, right.
So your work is going to keep the shop really busy.
Right.
So that's amazing. I suppose that block can hold it because they're actually very light.
They are very lightweight, yeah,
Yeah,
they're not